Hey, everyone, what's going on? I will be taking some time today to work through the block renderer that I've been using recently on projects, and it's something that I have a tutorial video coming out for soon, but I've heard so many people talking about how they'd like to see it, and so I will have a detailed tutorial about it soon, but I figured it needs to happen for this project anyway, so I might as well show it here, throw it up there, and start using it. I'm also going to start working on our industry pages that I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, where in our navigation we have an industry dropdown where we can then choose, like if we were a business owner and we needed to see, who does this person service, like what industry does this company work in, we would have a page like that. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like quite yet. I'm not sure if it's going to be a new collection. It definitely needs to be a new route. I think there's a parent page selector in our collection. So we'll look at all of that when we get there. But why don't we start with our RenderBlocks component? All right, so let's go ahead and spin up our server. And then we don't really need to do anything there yet. But we can come down to our show blocks. And we're going to change the name of this. So actually, we're not going to have our server live when we do this, so because I think it's going to break something. So we'll rename, and we'll rename it RenderBlocks instead, hit refactor, and then in here is where we're going to make all of our changes. So the first thing is we do have all of our components that we need, so that makes sense. So we're good there. We'll eventually add a feed, so I'm going to leave that there as well. And it looks like all of these should be shortened, right? Yeah. So it should actually even just be this. Yeah, it can be shortened to the @ but this is in the blocks. Oh, it's because I'm in components, not in blocks. That was weird. Okay, so that's not going to work like I wanted it to. And I'm not going to spend a bunch of time replacing these, so I'll just do that. Replace all. If anything breaks, I can fix it. All good. All right. So source @ it's all the same. All right, so let's now just get rid of this. So what I did initially is I had a switch statement that would go by the block type. This is just something that I use to get by. It's not exactly the best way to do this, so I'm going to show a better way to do this that I've been using in new projects, as well as I think it has been shown in the Payload templates. So I think this is a great way to do this. So we're going to create a new const called blockComponents. We're going to set that equal to an object where we're going to take in all of our types here. Really all of our blocks. So we have content, no media, and we're going to use as much as we can the actual slug that we have for each of these block types, because we're going to search for the block type when we get to the actual mapping function. So we'll work with that in a second. So we'll do content, no media. And if I need to adjust any of these slugs, I'll of course go back and do that as well. So then we have content with media. And so I already think that these slugs aren't right, but we'll see. All right. So we'll leave it how it is. And then we'll have our card section. We'll have our CTA, content with map. All right, so my IDE is starting to catch it. Content with video, ClientLogos. It stopped catching it. Shouldn't have jinxed it. All right, FAQ. So yeah, I'm going to have to check some of these slugs here. Okay, yeah, I got a couple things that I need to fix. All right, so then we have sponsored section, steps with icons, summary, table of contents, and then we got our form block. Okay, so I think that's everything. So we are going to go into each of these components, and we're going to take away the default export. This is going to break some stuff very clearly, but that's going to be easily fixed with this. Yeah. All right. So this is right. Yes. Okay. So let's do that real quick with all of these. I don't know what this error is. Oh, well, we don't need that. This can be shortened. Just clean it up a little bit as we go. instead of, dedicating whole videos to actually cleaning. We can do it as we go. All right, so content with media. Then we've got our card section, CTA, content with map. Here's one where I think things got weird. Content with map. Cool. And then content with video, which I don't, no, this project we do have video. Okay, so that, go ahead and shorten these, and then remove that. All right, we came here for the the default. Then we need to do content with video, client logos. And here, let's actually do it this way. And that way we can just do all of this once. And then as we go, it'll actually fix. Yep, perfect. Exactly what I wanted. And so this probably needs to be client logos. Yep. Sponsored section, steps with icons. Can get rid of all that. Perfect. Oop, can get rid of this and this. Perfect. Then summary. And then the last one, we'll fix all those there in a second. Table of contents. We don't want default. All right, so sponsored section. Oh, if I could spell section. Then we got steps with icons. Summary. Table of contents. Perfect. So now we got our block components set. Next step is to now actually create our RenderBlocks function. So we're going to leave this here just so we have something to look at, but we can do our export const RenderBlocks because that's what we're going to name this. And then we're going to use React types, which is going to take an object on the inside there. We're going to take blocks, and then we'll use page, I think layout is what this is called. So I think we need to import, yes, we need to import our page type, and then probably type page and posts. Wrong. From @payload types. I meant post, yes. Okay. So we now have our page type and our post type, and so we need to define the types of each collection that we want to use in our render blocks. So we've got page, I'm trying to remember, I think it's content, which is what this is, and then post, which should also be content. And so we're going to have this error here until we actually return something. So you'll see a bunch of errors popping up as we go, but I promise they will go away after we're done. So we're going to set that equal to props, and then open up our object there and take out our blocks from props using destructuring, not deconstruction, destructuring. And then we're going to check if there are blocks. So if there's blocks and the blocks is an array, and if it is an array, it needs to be greater than 0 in length. Then we come down here to check if has blocks, and then we'll return our fragment where we're going to map out our blocks now. So the fragment is there just as a holder of the content. So it should render as either nothing or as an empty div, or a div in general. So yes. All right. And so we're using index. If I would do this right, talking and typing is difficult. Here, let me actually redo that. So blocks.map. Then we're going to have block, and yeah, I'll just use I for index. And then we'll do that now. All right. So yes, we're taking the index here. So we've got block and index. And the index is going to be important because we do actually need it just in case a block doesn't have an ID for any reason. All right. So now we got our const, and we're going to take block type. So again, another destructuring. Yes. block type out of block. And so again, these errors are going to go away, but you just got to power right through it. So then we need to check if the block type, or if there is a block type, and that block type is in our block components object that we just created up here. So if that is true, we then are going to return a block that's going to search in that block components for our block type. So that will return out of here the actual component from the block components object. That will then be created. If there is a block, then we're going to return, if I could type, a div. We need the key of index, which is I for us, which is a requirement of React. It's not anything Payload or nextjs specific. And then we're going to use block, and then we've got our block here, and all of that looks good. So now we should be able to actually get rid of our show blocks thing here, which is just a weird switch statement that I got. And then we also want to make sure that if there are no blocks, let's just start there, we need to return null because we need to return something at each level. So if block, or if block type, whatever, I'm just going to type in return null. I'm trying too hard to explain here. And then under the fragment, we'll return null again. That way, nothing breaks. We've got our render blocks. Now we actually need to use it because since I removed our show blocks component, now render blocks needs to take its place. And so if I were to load up our site, nothing is going to change. So let's, or nothing is going to show. Everything changes. So I'll go to our local host. I might even get an error because show blocks does not exist. Yep. So show blocks is not exported. Expected a string for built-in components. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to replace everywhere we had show blocks with render blocks. So in my IDE, I can do that. No, that was right. And we're going to look for show blocks, and we're going to import render blocks from there instead. So then here we can do render blocks, and then render blocks, then render blocks. And so we can refresh this. Ideally, this just works. Oh, it does. Look at that. Kind of works. So we will do some troubleshooting then. So first things first, we do have our hero, so that's good to see. What's this error here? Cannot access FormBlock before initialization. So what am I doing wrong? It's always something. This is why I made a streamlined tutorial of this instead of trying to figure it out in real time. So now we just need to figure out why none of our blocks are showing. And it could be really just our whatchamacallits here. Our properties are just wrong. So let's take a look at ContentWithMedia. We'll start there. So that's going to be in our blocks. We've got ContentWithMedia and we have a config. So if we take our slug, that's correct. Let's see what happens if we use the interface name instead, which is ContentWithMedia props, which I don't think should do anything. It does not. All right, so let's take a look at what we need to do to make this work. All right, so next let's make sure that our layout field is actually right. So I'm not sure if this is correct. So if we then go to our page component, our collection, so we've got our pages, we can go to our config, which we should change that. So all of our blocks are in here. There's the content there. We've got tabs. So we have our hero. Then we have content. So that is correct then. And it does take blocks. Right. So then let's take a look at RenderBlocks, where it's actually used, which would be here. So then, so I don't need to map anything here. So let's do RenderBlocks, and then we're going to take in our blocks as, I think it's just content, but we'll double check here. Make it self-closing. content. Page blocks is content. So then I can just do that page blocks variable there. What is this? Cannot access form block before initialization. So let's take away form block real quick, just to make sure that this actually works. All right, so there are our blocks. Now we need to figure out why the form block isn't working, and we need to figure out this error here. And we see type null is not assignable to type. The expected type comes from property blocks. Okay, so let's make sure we did our nulls the correct way. So if has block, if block, then return null. Fragment, return null. Okay, so all of this should be right. I don't know what this error that we're getting is, but let's take a look. Oh, let's see. So I think part of the issue is I just have this page blocks content. Okay. So let's see. We've got our, we have content right there. So I don't even need to use page blocks. I can just do content.content. So it's still getting null. Okay. So let's even, I see that content. So what if I just do a good old type, or not even type check, just a check. Make sure that content.content exists. If it does, all right, gotta love the struggle during live coding. There's always a struggle, right? Page blocks. So type assertion doesn't quite work right there, but that's okay. So it's fine. I'm cool with the error. I'll figure it out, and we'll just use page blocks for now, even though this should be working. So this is more of a TypeScript thing and more of like, I don't know TypeScript that well. I'm still learning, still getting stronger with it. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening here, but if we take a look at our page, we should be able to just do so if we do like something like page layout or something like that, we do our page and then set it, no, it wouldn't be docs, so I just need content.content. And then what if I do page layout here? And then page.content.content, not assignable to type. So it's just null. All right, well, let's figure out the form builder, or the form block. So this might have something to do with our client. And so here I might want to look at documentation. So that's what the documentation is there for. Let's go payload, and it's not even going to be documentation. I'm going to be looking at the website template, and I'll pull it up here in a second. Website, is this the template? Yes. All right. So here we've got documentation, and here I know that they have a form because this is where I learned how to do it. So we need to look in their components, into their blocks, blocks, and then render blocks. So the form block is there, yes. There's no use client. So all of this is right. I wonder if this has something to do with it. So let's take a look. Don't think it should though. Let's just add. What can I do? 0, then this. Yeah, I didn't think so. So that doesn't really apply to my project. So yeah, blocks, page content. So then let's go over to our form config, and the form block, oh, that's the actual block. So here, yes, there's use client on the form block, and I've got use client on mine as well. So that shouldn't matter either. Okay, so this could have something to do with my version of Payload because I'm on an older version. So we will look at this in a little bit. So I'm going to take another look at there. And of course, this render blocks component is going to look familiar because this is similar to what I have. Form block at blocks form component at blocks form component. Okay, so that's right. Form block, maybe. Oh, was that it? I don't know. I don't see the form, but it did load up again, so don't know what that means. So it must be this. So form block And we can double check that that's actually true by coming here and going to the config. And yes, the slug is lowercase. So we'll take a look into that issue in a little bit.